They refer to him as the Black Death of the 21st century. It's a disease category that is sweeping the world today like no other before it. A tsunami of suffering across all borders, gender and ages, as we all know. Not a new thing here in Fiji. And an equal opportunity curse for all organs in the human body. It starts from the head, it goes right down to the toe. So we're talking about a huge crisis in the South Pacific region. When you're looking at world statistics, I'm sure we all know about this, but just to recap a little bit on this. In 2017, they estimated about 371 million people with diabetes living in the world. Now these are all diagnosed cases. In 2035, they're estimating about 592. Wayne, you can help us improve on these statistics. In 2050, they're actually saying there may be 1 billion people in the world with diabetes. So we're talking a huge crisis. In our region alone, in the Western Pacific region, there's about 30 million people. In the Pacific Islands, we're talking some 2 million people from Papua New Guinea all the way to the Pitcairn Islands. 1 in 4 Pacific Islander adult is a diabetic. So we're talking a pandemic situation right here in our beautiful South Pacific Island countries. So it's sweeping across the Pacific. 30 years ago, it was leprosy that destroyed toes. I'm sure there was some leprosy here in Fiji many, many years ago. Today, obviously, it is diabetes. Now, as a surgeon, I've had my share of cutting legs, and you know what? I used to really enjoy it. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on. But that's the trend, as you can appreciate. You can see the trend. We used to be killed, by communicable disease big time. It still does. It still kills people. But today, the biggest burden of disease from Papua New Guinea all the way to Nauru, if you like, is non-communicable disease. And the scale is going down heavy on the other side, as you can appreciate. Let me just share with you some statistics. Now, these are estimates that we have been able to collate. Solomon Islands, 18.86%. Fiji, about 25. I think it's a little bit more higher than that, from my understanding. Papua New Guinea, 17.65. 1.3 million people with diabetes in Papua New Guinea alone, with a population of 7 million people. So we're talking some huge problems here. You look at countries like American Samoa, where you have about 47% of the total population, which is almost 50% of the total population has diabetes. And so it appears that this region of ours is a clear breeding ground for this problem. And estimates, there's about 2 million people altogether in the South Pacific region with diabetes, as you can appreciate. We did some estimates of amputations. Now this will scare you, but it's reality. I think it's a moderate estimate of the reality of things that's happening right now in the Pacific today. 400 amputations per week, 80 per day, 1 every 10 minutes, somewhere in the South Pacific. And so you're talking about 30,000 plus amputations taking place in the South Pacific per 12 months. You compare that with Australia, we're talking about 1,300 amputations every 12 months. So a huge crisis, a huge problem in our countries in the Pacific. Now, if you don't like this, close your eyes, because to me this is what I do, what I used to do. This is my ward in Honiara, the surgical ward. Today, half of the ward is all diabetics, and they live in there for about, it's like their home. So it's, they stay there for about 12 months, even more than 12 months, to wait for the wounds to heal. That's what we're talking about. The economic burden that this disease is casting on our economies in the Pacific is just huge. It's just amazing. Now, Mary, she's 40 with both legs gone. You talk about statistics, yeah, that's all good. But when you look at human value and suffering, you're talking some huge crisis. Let's look at it in that context, I think. I think that is important. Grace, 35, 1 leg gone, another getting there. Paul, only 28 years old, with an amputated leg, as you can appreciate that. This is Lena, 16, no more attending school because she had to look after her mother. And so we're talking some huge problems here. These are two statements made by governments of the South Pacific. One was in 2007, March. This was a meeting of ministers held in Vanuatu in 2007. Listen to it, you can read. The frightening truth is that non-communicable diseases account for more than 75% of the disease burden in the Pacific today. We are already ahead of the rest of the world. And then in 2012, September, there was another big meeting of government officials and health leaders, and this is what they said. Pacific Island countries declared a disaster region for lifestyle disease. We have reached crisis point. So that's reality. This is the situation today in the South Pacific right now. And I'm just saying to myself, what now? What's the solution to the crisis? We've been having this problem, for a while now, and it's getting worse. It is not improving. This is an interesting looking brain, and I'd like to just leave this thought with you, just before Wayne comes up and shares with us a little bit this evening. There's something called elastic thinking. Let me share this idea. Elastic thinking says, think creatively. Elastic thinking talks about design thinking. It goes a little bit further and says that think critically about whatever situation that you're looking at. It also tells me about systems thinking. Okay, we have a lot of systems. Lateral thinking says think systematically. I like this one, lean thinking. So many times we get bogged down with so many things that we try to solve too many problems at one go. Think lean. Lateral thinking says lean thinking is a good thing. And then of course we do a lot of strategic planning. Elastic thinking helps us to think in that way. But this is what elastic thinking says. It's the capacity to let go of comfortable thinking or ideas. We have a challenge before us, and it's easy to just draw back and sit and watch and say, it doesn't affect me. And we're comfortable. Be accustomed to ambiguity and contradictions. It's not a bad thing to have contradictions. It's a good learning process, if you like. Rise above conventional mindsets. Think differently. We've been doing things this way all the time. Maybe it's now time to think a little bit differently. Reframe the questions that we ask. Lateral thinking challenges us to ask new questions. I'd like you to think about that. Are there questions that we still have not asked about this crisis that we're talking about? Abundant, ingrained assumptions. Oh, it cannot be done, it cannot be sorted, it cannot be solved. With any issues, there is always a way. And I think it is good to abandon those ingrained assumptions, if you like. Rely on imagination as much as logic. And so we talk about that in the context of lateral thinking. Yeah? You can imagine. But don't imagine too long. Because if you imagine too much, nothing happens. Combine it with some logic. You agree with me? Combine it with some logic. And make imagination and visionary thinking attached with logical thinking. I believe we can get somewhere. But it's good to dream sometimes. And see the suffering of diabetes and lifestyle disease going through a downturn. I dream about that all the time. And let's think in that way. Willing to experiment. It is not wrong to fail. It's okay if we fail. But let the failure, like in the second last point, let us be tolerant of failure, so that let's see failure as a stepping stone for better planning, if you like. Generate and integrate a variety of ideas, if you like. So can I suggest to you, it's time for some elastic thinking. I'm looking at some good people here. Maybe time for some elastic thinking, but add on to it some analytical thinking as well. Yeah, we know the statistics, but there may be some other ways that we can be able to assess this thing. Strategic thinking is very important. So yeah, some elastic thinking, maybe some analytical thinking, strategic thinking. I must thank Ali Pate for doing a little prayer before we started. I think it is very important as Christians, I believe we're all Christians here, most of us, to add God thinking into the mix. And I believe we can find some amazing solutions to the crisis that we are faced with right now. It is very clear that pills and injections will not solve the problem of diabetes and other lifestyle diseases. That is very clear. Wayne will share that with us. I'm sure we all know that. It is very clear through research that lifestyle as medicine, which is an interesting concept, may be the solution to the crisis that we're facing, because research has clearly shown that it can prevent, it can arrest, and it can even reverse lifestyle disease. And so that may be the way to go. And so here comes the concept of the South Pacific Society of Lifestyle Medicine. This is a new thing. It's never done here in the past. This is something that calls, if you like, for elastic thinking, for analytical thinking, for strategic thinking. And I would like to add God thinking into it, because I believe it can do something great for us in the South Pacific. So I'd like to introduce to you the Society of Lifestyle Medicine, if you like, for the South Pacific. It creates a platform for collaboration and for partnership. No one person can be able to address this problem on his own. No country on its own can be able to address this. We need to collaborate. And I think there is a big need for partnership right here. We made bold statements about the crisis that our region is facing, but there seems to be no real solution to the problem. I think it's time for collaboration and it's time for partnership. And I believe the society, the South Pacific Society of Lifestyle Medicine, can create that platform, if you like, for collaboration and for partnership. We'd like to see the government come on board. We'd like to see educational institutions come on board. We'd like to even see churches come on board. I think that is very crucial. Churches, we need you in this fight against non-communicable diseases or lifestyle diseases. Non-government organizations, we need you as well. We need everybody to come on board so that we can be able to stand as one voice, collaborate, bring all our resources together, and fight this crisis that is destroying the lives of so many people, even our brothers, our mothers, our fathers, our sisters. I believe it has affected family members of almost everyone that is seated here this evening. I think it's important that we understand that. So it creates a platform for relationship with other societies. Wayne, you'll be able to help us with this. Affiliation with the International Society of Lifestyle Medicine. Conferences on lifestyle medicine can be staged across the South Pacific for learning purposes. Research in lifestyle medicine can happen. We have not done really much in this area. Training in lifestyle medicine, it creates the opportunity for training in lifestyle medicine. And you'll hear more about this. And board certification. We need plenty of lifestyle medicine specialists in the South Pacific if we are to be able to address this properly. And so I promote this to you. I'd like you to give it a serious thought. We're talking about the concept here this evening. Very shortly we'll be launching the Society of Lifestyle Medicine. We want everyone here to come on board and let's work together, please folks, so that we can be able to collaborate and partner in this and be able to bring a better future for our children in the Pacific. It has been said that the next generation will live shorter lives than their parents because of diabetes and other lifestyle diseases. Let's make a difference. Thank you so much for listening this evening.